Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. All right. So hi, everyone. We are group 16. My name is Andrew, and today I'm joined by my group members, Klara, Miriam, and Abigail. Today we decided to go with the trimetric case, and our title is called Bringing Joy to the World, a marketing campaign for Joy Oladokun.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Joy. She's a guitar-based artist who lives in Nashville, Tennessee with her wife and dog. She's described her music as new music for old souls. Her biggest inspiration is Tracy Chapman. Her most recent album is called In Defense of My Own Happiness, Volume 1, which was released in July of 2020. And part 2 of that album is planned for summer of this year, which is what you're talking. Or is what we're all talking about now. In the wake of the events of the past year, Joy said that the title and themes of the album, love, being Black, and being queer, have taken on new meaning for her.
So Joy's target audience is predominantly female, with the majority of her listeners and followers ranging from the ages of 18 to 34. And her most popular locations by listeners right now are Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, as well as a few other major US cities. And she is also starting to gain more listeners in cities across Canada.
So Joy has a decent following. If we look at her Spotify followers over the past year, she's had pretty steady growth. With her monthly listeners, there's been some dips, but for the most part, it's positive growth.
All right, and what is Joy doing right? So essentially, she's really good at having high fan engagement, especially on Instagram, where she is well above average for her size. And this was like a major reason for us choosing our ideas, which we'll talk about later. She's doing well with creating wider exposure through sync, supporting a consistent release schedule of singles and projects, and marketing herself through media sources and campaigns.
Using a forecasting trend line, we predict that her Spotify followers will reach about 60,000, her Spotify monthly listeners about 2.5 million, and her Instagram followers about 30,000 by the end of February 2022. And in order to reach this goal, to keep growing her platforms and expanding her listenership, we came up with a couple marketing strategies.
All right, so the plan. Our short-term goal is to help promote her upcoming album, In Defense of My Own Happiness, Volume 2. And to support that goal, we have two main parts. The first one is a Clubhouse podcast, and the second is a brand collaboration with Weed Maps. First idea is the Clubhouse podcast. This would be a weekly podcast released in connection with her current newsletter, Black Joy, where she would speak on subjects close to her, such as Black and LGBTQ inclusion in music. We chose Clubhouse as the medium mainly due to its hype, and as well as adding some sort of veiled exclusivity and scarcity to it. And we believe this is perfect for our target audience because we found there's a lot of data that suggests a rise in podcast consumption in recent years. And the main culprits of that being her target audience, which is Gen Z and millennials.
So our second idea is about brand collaboration. Joy herself describes her as a sensitive stoner, even having merch with that phrase. Pairing her with a weed brand, particularly potentially creating some items exclusive to the platform, maybe like rolling papers, would be a natural fit. The brand that we specifically chose for this example was Weed Maps, which enables safe, legal access of marijuana to consumers worldwide. Their business also focuses on social equity, which is something that's important to Joy. Drug policies disproportionately affect people of color. In July of 2019, the Gallup poll said that about 12% of Americans smoke marijuana recreationally. And the largest market within that is the 18 to 29 market, which kind of coincides with her target audience. Joy's three top markets by listeners are Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. Illinois and California have already legalized marijuana recreationally, and New York is well on its way to doing that.
So what are we watching right now? So we're monitoring Joy's Spotify monthly listeners by city, and we expect to find growth in her current top 3 cities, Chicago, LA, and New York, and foresee LA to become her largest audience by listeners and followers. Based off of 2020 to 2021 trends and following a similar brand promotion, we anticipate to carry that same momentum through her Weed Maps campaign and podcast to boost her fan engagement, promote merch sales of her Sensitive Stoner brand, and increase her social media following to expand on her target audience, all in the next couple of months to prepare for her upcoming album release. And so In Defense of My Own Happiness, Volume 2 is set to come out this summer 2021. Please stream Joy's music and follow her on all her social media platforms. And thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Thanks so much, guys. I will now open the floor up to the judges for questions. Judges, take it away.
A quick technical question. First of all, really cool presentation. Really enjoyed that. I saw a bunch of predictions about like follower counts and a bunch of the data. Like any, would you guys like to speak on like what you used or what model you used, or just kind of like how you drew that line into the future?
Yeah, so we used Excel and used their trend line function to predict that. We're all kind of new to the whole data analysis side, so we know that an exponential trend line is not the most accurate. And so if we had a bit more time and experience in data analytics, we probably would use like a moving average type of trend line to make more accurate predictions.
Awesome. And so were you able to, in your analysis, able to reverse engineer like which channels were influencing which, like in terms of if she's active on Instagram and how that influences Spotify, or is she popular on Spotify because is she popular on Instagram because she's popular on Spotify? And then how did that, how did that influence your decision to choose like Clubhouse as the right channel for her for the upcoming project?
So I guess we noticed that there were some like crossover with her social medias. Like, for example, on Instagram, she would post a lot of her of her tweets on her Instagram posts and have a lot of costs, and as well as like include reels of her TikToks and stuff like that. So she's always like combining social media in that way. But I guess like the main inspiration for Clubhouse is that, well, it is like the new like trendy thing in like music. It's definitely growing a bigger base, and we feel like since it's like new and developing, we feel like it can, if she had like some sort of like structured podcast, it would help her. It would help her break out a little bit more, because it'd be like one of the first of that kind of thing. And not only that, but like she also is very deep into like a niche, because she can speak about Black and LGBTQ matters that are personal to her. So she would kind of fill that role in a way.
Plus, it would also allow her to kind of get closer to her fans in a way that maybe they can't right now through performance, which would be the kind of typical way to kind of close that gap between artist and fan.
Thank you.
How do you know that the artist is supportive of the second project, the cause about weed? Did you double check that?
Well, she is a very advocate stoner. On all of her social media bios, she mentions her brand, which is Sensitive Stoner. And in her Instagram, every like 3 pics, she has like a blunt in her hand or like something like that. So she is very supportive of marijuana, for sure.